What is currently happening, programs? Welcome to the Grid VR, where I'll be bringing you this week's news in virtual reality. It's Sunday the 13th of January 2019, and all I can say this week is to half infinity and beyond. We've got the Vive Cosmos high-res headset, I think. Vive Pro Eye tracking your blinks, Pimax irons out the kinks, AR smart glasses, PT and VR, motion sickness cure, and much more. Today, I'm going to cover off the main events to keep you in the loop. So stay locked, enjoy, and welcome back to the Grid VR. CES 2019 was on this week and a ton of hardware was teased and demoed. First off the ranks is the Vive Cosmos, a 6 degrees of freedom high-res headset from HTC. Details are a little scatty on this one, but we do know that HMD connects to a PC using a single USB-C cable, which has to be the virtual link cable I covered in this episode of the Grid VR, and it utilizes Vive's own inside-out tracking system, courtesy of 2 cameras on the front of the device and 2 on the side, so no external sensors are required at all. It has a head strap similar to a PSVR headband, though it was noted that the headphones themselves are an optional extra. On that point, the website claims a modular design that lets you upgrade components. A flip-top front lets you go in and out of VR in case you decide you like the real world, and it comes with 2 6-DoF controllers reminiscent of Oculus Quest, which you can see more of in this video here. And the trailer teased mobile phone connectivity, so a potential VR headset that also works with a mobile phone then? Yep, more on that in a second. The headset will have Nreal lenses, and HTC are claiming Cosmos will have their sharpest screens yet, with crystal clear graphics, pixel-packed displays with minimal screen door effect, and real RGB displays. More on that in a second too. Cosmos will draw content from the new Vive Reality platform, which includes Origin, a VR environment similar to Oculus Home, Steam VR Home, or the WMR Cliff House, where you can chill with friends in a virtual space and do things like watch videos, browse the internet with Firefox Reality, or launch games and apps from Steam VR or HTC's own Viveport service. And that Viveport service, where programs pay a subscription fee each month for access to up to 5 titles, has been upgraded to Vive Infinity, which grants access to 500 plus games every month. And while that sounds great, 500 titles is a weird number when you consider there were over 1,000 titles launched on Viveport last year.
To infinity and beyond!
More like half infinity. No word on field of view, resolution, price, or release date except 2019. And that's all we know about the Cosmos specifically. Or is it? Well, Qualcomm, in partnership with Acer and Quanta, the Taiwanese PC giant that produces headsets for companies like Acer, was showing off a reference-designed HMD at CES, which was strikingly similar to the Acer Oho 500, which I covered in this episode of the Grid VR last year. And this headset looks to be the one that HTC used to design the Cosmos. This HMD has 2K by 2K resolution per eye, making it a 4K headset, which also makes this twice as sharp as the Vive Pro, and on par with the Deus Odin headset I covered in this episode of the Grid VR. Also, LCD screens with an RGB sub-pixel layout, which help reduce screen door effect compared to the pentile sub-pixel layouts you'd find on OLED screens in a Vive or Rift. And when you tie these 2 pieces of info back to HTC's claim of the sharpest screens yet and real RGB displays, it certainly lines up pretty nicely. On top of that, this reference headset connects to a mobile phone using the same single USB-C cable that HTC mentioned, which powers the headset while you're on the go and allows you to play mobile VR games and apps, or stream content like 180 videos directly over the net to the headset. Though to stream VR content, this unit was utilizing the ever-looming, ultimately better 5G technology, and the headset was running at a low 60Hz refresh rate, which is what you'd see from a Gear VR. So not a great mobile VR experience, but again, it does line up nicely with the video HTC was showing off. And with a 100-degree field of view, which is the same as Rift and Vive, and HTC not noting any boost in the field of view on the Cosmos, again, it all lines up nicely. And on top of all that, the CEO of Nvidia said that Nvidia have been working with HTC on Virtual Link. And while a lot can happen between reference design and commercial release, a lot of these features fit like clickbait and Linus Tech Tips.
Jesus, did I say that? I was just thinking.
All up, the Cosmos sounds very similar to what the rumoured Rift S could be, and while the Oculus Quest would still be the best buy for mobile and standalone VR gamers, the Vive Cosmos could be the new king for PC VR users, provided the inside-out tracking stacks up, and provided HTC's pricing structure isn't a little too, well, HTC. No release date yet, but dev kits will be in the mail late this year, so sit tight. Then there's the Vive Pro Eye, a headset with exactly the same specs as a Vive Pro, but with the addition of eye tracking courtesy of HTC's partnership with Tobii. Eye tracking is nothing new for flat PC gaming, with a range of titles supporting the technology already. But in VR, eye tracking allows for FOVEATED rendering, a technology that tracks your eye movements and renders the center of your vision in high resolution, ideally very high resolution, while anything in the peripheral edges of your vision, where your eye can't see in detail, is rendered in a lower resolution, resulting in a visually sharper VR experience that is a lot less taxing on your computer. The upshot being that cheaper systems with low-end graphics cards can still run high-end VR games in perceivable crystal clarity. And while foveated rendering on something like a Vive or Rift isn't going to make that much of a difference, as the high-res image at the center of your vision isn't really that high-res anyways due to the physical limitations of the screens and lenses themselves, for something with the resolution of like a Pimax or Vive Pro, the images in the center of your vision can be super high-res, and foveated rendering opens these headsets up to people with cheaper PCs, and this is a key reason why foveated rendering needs to come before wide field of view headsets right now, if we're talking the chicken and the egg, which we weren't. What are you even doing here, chicken? Aside from foveated rendering pushing us closer to 4K consumer VR on everyday PCs, eye tracking also allows us to accomplish things like assisted IPD adjustment for a less fatiguing visual experience, intuitive interactions combining gaze-tracked object selection with hand interactions, which wouldn't seem to make a major difference, but for every game tasks as simple as menu selection, being able to just look at an option and hit a button on your controller would noticeably streamline the user experience. For social VR, virtual avatars can look where you look to add a more personal experience to an otherwise static virtual eyeball. And that's just the consumer side of things. Businesses can collect data about how you look around while giving a speech, for example, to build better training apps, or note what apps catch your eye first on a storefront. And it's that type of data which can be extremely useful for companies when running test or focus groups, trying to decide what images or products people naturally gravitate towards first. And all of this adds up to better devices. Sure, we have VR, but all these steps bring us closer to exceptional, widely adopted VR. Exciting times. I'm so sorry. And briefly, Pimax have shown off their eye tracking module at CES in their 5K headset. The module is designed by Seven and Vincent, a company whose A-glass eye tracking module for the HTC Vive popped up in this episode of the Grid VR on the 10th of May last year. As eye tracking and foveated rendering become more commonplace and widely supported, modules like these will be key, and it's great to see this addition, as well as some notable improvements on the Pimax headsets as time goes on. The Pimax knuckle-style controllers were also on display, but were just shells and didn't actually function. And Pimax have also noted on their website that their motion smoothing brain warp technology, which alternates images to decrease load on your PC, is hitting beta. The company has also been working with Valve as they go along to ensure Steam VR compatibility, and despite Kickstarter backers still waiting on headsets, all these updates are notably positive, and you can stay locked here for future updates. At this point, I'd like to shout out to Voodoo DE, who supplied me with a lot of the CES footage. I'll link his awesome YouTube channel in the description of this video. Nreal is a company founded founded by an ex-Magic Leap engineer that raised $15 million to develop its 3-ounce or 85-gram mixed reality smart glasses. The glasses, branded the Nreal Light glasses, have a 52-degree field of view and 1080p resolution, which may sound shit by VR standards, but for AR wearable tech, those numbers are actually quite high and result in a reportedly sharp AR experience. The glasses do need to connect via a USB-C cable to an external computing pack, much like the Vive Cosmos in mobile mode, so they're not standalone, and are powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 processor. There's integrated spatial sound and voice control, which all sounds really good to me, and the glasses will be shipping in Q2 or Q3 this year and be priced under $1,000. Ian Bell, the CEO and founder of Slightly Mad Studios, the team behind Project Cars, has taken to Twitter and announced a high-powered concept console designed to deliver 90 FPS VR gameplay at 4K resolutions. This console is not in development yet, but just look at the concept designs, in particular the finalized designs, and know that sometimes it's okay to dream of what the future might be. And depending on what the PS5 ends up being, a VR gaming console PC may be just the ticket to rage against the game. Finch Technologies are releasing a somewhat universal 6 degrees of freedom controller to developers this month that will allow devs to build 6DoF games and apps for headsets that only have 3 degrees of freedom controllers, like the Oculus Go or Vive Focus. There are no field of view limitations thanks to armbands you strap on that track the controllers and relay that tracking information to your VR headset. And a solution like that in itself could negate inside-out tracking limitations on other upcoming VR headsets. Just saying. HTC and Qualcomm have both endorsed these controllers for their headsets, as well as it being noted they are compatible with both iOS and Android platforms. If you would like to build apps for this controller and enable 6DoF gaming on something like an Oculus Go or Vive Focus, then this may be worth a look. Over to YouTube land, Linus Tech Tips furthered their allegiance to the clickbait bandwagon with the video titled "Why VR Has Crashed." Dear Linus, I've been typing this letter for moments now, and I realise one thing. My bread has been in the toaster for 10 minutes and it's probably burnt, so now I can't eat it. Please send more bread. Also, I watched your video, and despite Nvidia pointing out that 4 million PC VR headsets have been sold, Steam VR numbers have doubled since this time last year, games like Pavlov saw a doubling of their user base over Christmas, Resident Evil 7 VR now shows over 600,000 players, and Amazon completely selling out of Rifts to sell over the holidays, I get the point you were trying to make. VR hasn't taken over the world in its first year, but that was a mismanaged expectation by the industry. To me, the only real talking point here is, can the industry realign its expectations and strategies to make VR into a profitable model? And if you are right and VR truly has crashed, who are all these people coming over the horizon to kick your ass? Also, the Oculus Rift with touch controllers is now priced permanently at $350 US, which is better than a ballpark figure and makes it, in my opinion, the best bang for buck VR headset you can get. Sony was seen holding the PSVR up high while announcing they've sold 91.6 million PS4s and over 876 million games at CES. When you consider over 3 million PSVRs have been sold, that's around 4% of PlayStation owners being PSVR owners, which ain't bad for a young tech that's supposed to have crashed. PT, the horror game from Hideo Kojima, Guillermo del Toro, and not published by Konami, has been recreated by one program and made free to download and play for the next week. The initial release didn't work properly in VR, but the bugs have been fixed. I've played it through, and yeah, this is the best way to play this sadly doomed work of art. And a French startup called Boarding Ring claimed to have solved motion sickness with the Boarding VAR, an attachable dynamic LED light ring that responds to in-game movement while you play and helps remove the effects of VR sim sickness. This work actually seems to follow on from work that Microsoft themselves were doing a couple of years back, and if you want to find out more about that one or any of the other topics I've covered today, as always, all the links are in the description. And finally, this just in, actual footage of Linus signing autographs for members of the VR community. And that's this week on The Grid VR. You can help support this channel by grabbing exclusive rewards on Patreon, and if you like this video, then crush that like button, have your say in the comments below, and hit the XO logo to subscribe if you wanna. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!